Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name is Earlmeister, and in today's Meister meta breakdown, we are going to be checking out the top 8 deck of the PAX Alice's Easter Special Tournament. What are we waiting for? Let's get on with it. All right, let's look at the top 8 really quick. So, on the top 8, we have 3 Steel Emerald discard. It's finally up there, and I feel like people have figured it out more. It had a showing during the first couple weeks of the tournament, especially the first week. But on this tournament, there's 3 of them on top 8. And there's also 2 Amethyst Ruby Bounce, which is not a surprise. 1 Popsicles made it, and 1 Emerald Purple made it to top 2, actually. This deck as well, the more we see it, it's shifting out of like its aggro side. It's more of a mid-range deck now than anything else, but it still has its aggro aspects to it, and we'll check that out pretty soon. And number 1 again, what a surprise! It's Brennan DeCandio again that took the first place, and this time with Steel Song. And there's a twist to it. There's 66 cards in this deck. That's why it's called Order 66. I can't wait to check that out and discuss it with you guys. I also ask why it's like that. So wait for that towards the end. But first, let's go ahead and check out the Steel Emerald by Jacob Pullen. All right. So this is one of the top 8 decks. At first glance, it looks like a regular Emerald discard deck, just like everyone is running. But let's talk about the decks that this deck has. I would like to start with the Tiana and the Flynn Rider. So some people who actually choose to run Flynn Rider, which a lot of people has cut as well, usually would run multiple Flynn Riders. But I like what Jacob did here. Instead of running multiple Flynn Riders, he ran 2 Tianas alongside with the Flynn Rider as well, which is pretty cool tech in my opinion. It makes the deck less greedy. Yeah, Tiana can't quest for 4 like Flynn Rider, but the 4 quests for Flynn Rider is conditional. Tiana can just do that right away, and her survivability is really great as well. And at Mirror Match, if they decided that they're gonna Ultra Megatonic discard your hand, then Tiana can still fight back, because now that you don't have anything in your hand, they can't cast any of the spells that they have, like Let the Storm Rage On, and then along came Zeus, Strength of the Raging Fire, stuff like that. I also want to talk about the Tinkerbells here. So you have 2 Tinkerbells to a target for shift, right? We usually would see a bunch of these, but this one has 3 of this, and 2 of these, and 2 of Tinkerbell most helpful. And I think this is pretty good, because this is an evasive Tinkerbell, right? And it can quest for 2. It can apply a pressure by questing fast. But also, this is a safe way for you to sing songs, right? You can sing. It's kind of like Flynn Rider, but the thing about Flynn Rider, like what I said, it's conditional. Tinkerbell is a shift target. At the same time, she can quest for 2. And she can also sing these songs safely without worrying about getting hit by a lot of different things. And of course, there's the Maui's Hook. There's a lot of other ways to deal with it. But for the most part, having that, it's an extra safety net. And also, I want to talk about this. I've been seeing a lot of people splashing this and sometimes running plenty of it. I really, really like this card. I think this is a solid 6-drop. It has a 4/5 body, and it can quest for 4. I think this is an Ultra Megatonic card. I've experimented with my aggro decks with this, but I think on a mid-range deck like this, it can definitely shine. Other than that, everything else looks the same. Honestly, you got the Merfolk, you got the Flynn Rider, you got Robin Hood as the shift target for this Ultra Megatonic Robin Hood, right? Not this one. I mean, I guess you can shift that as well if you really want to, but most likely you're not gonna. It's a 4 quester, right? And then you have the Ursula package. You have the usual songs that they would run, right? It's running 2 Hypnotize as well for extra discard. It's running only 3 Prince John, which I think it's very not greedy. And I'm not trying to throw a pun here because it's the greediest of all, but it's not very greedy to run 3 Prince John, which is nice because sometimes this can break your hand. But also, there's nothing wrong with running 4 with them, especially on a discard deck, because it's a great ultra megatonic draw mechanic for you. But other than that, everything else is pretty much what you would see in these Emerald Steel decks. Again, Jacob Pullen, I hope I pronounced that right. Congratulations with a top 8 win. Let's go to the next one. All right, the next deck that we're gonna be checking out is by Joe Curley. First of all, congratulations on the top 8. At first glance with this deck, it looks like a regular Ultra Megatonic Emerald discard deck, but there's also a couple of decks that I would like to point out. And the first deck that we want to point out is this card right here, Friar Tuck. Friar Tuck is a pretty cool flexible card, and it's a pretty solid card in my opinion. It can help you catch up with the game, especially if your opponent keeps drawing and drawing and drawing. This just helps you discard more of their cards. And as they discard as well, you get to draw with Prince John when it combos. But the coolest part of this, it's a pretty solid body, honestly. It's a 2/4 that can quest for 2. Now, we can argue that, hey, Daisy Duck might be better. But the thing is, like, most likely Daisy Duck will only be able to do 1 discard for you. After it discards, Daisy Duck is out because it's most likely going to get hit by something, right? Friar Tuck, on the other hand, does what Daisy does right away, except it's a bit conditional, and it also has a bigger body. It's a 2/4 body that doesn't die to smash, or doesn't die to a lot of things, honestly. 4 is a pretty safe HP, unless obviously you're playing against the Fox, which will just annihilate a lot of different things. But Friar Tuck, I think it's a pretty solid tech. It worked out for him. He got to top 8 with it, so. Another thing that I wanna mention is Baboom. It's running 2 Baboom. I think a couple of these, even just a splash like one of it, it's pretty solid in this meta. Of course, there's a lot of other cards that can be better, but obviously it worked out for Joe. And I think this card is pretty solid turn 2 play. And my reasoning behind it is you have not Alice, you have Cinderella, you have Rafiki, you have Captain Hook. You have the Merfolk. There's just a lot of different targets at turn 2. Once you play turn 1, you put a body down. They put a body down in their turn 1. Comes turn 2, you just remove that body. Boom, no problem. And now your turn 1 character can quest. And if you're running a Cursed Merfolk, boom, Cursed Merfolk can quest. And now it doesn't have any problem of getting removed by something else. It gets 4 lore for you, unless it gets removed the next turn, obviously. Other than that, everything else is pretty regular from what you see. I mean, we saw most of these cards from the previous Emerald Steel discard deck, and this is usually what I would run as well. Other than that, congratulations, Joe Curley, for the top 8. Well done. All right, the next deck that we're going to be checking out here is our first Ruby Amethyst. There's only 2 of them that made it to top 8 this week. And this Ruby Amethyst, it looks just like most Ruby Amethysts that we see. But I want to mention, I want to do an Ultra Megatonic mention with the Dragonfire. Usually you would see 1, and this one has 2. And usually you would see none as well. And I like this a lot. And I keep repeating it over and over again. I think this card is still super solid. It was super solid and performed for me well on set 2. I think this is still performing well on set 3. There's just a lot of great targets, right? You have First of all, you have the Beast. You can remove it right away with no conditions. I mean, you also have Madame Medusa, of course, but on turn 5, if you are going second, you can remove it right away, prevent it from drawing. At the same time, it can also remove cards like Cinderella, and Madame Medusa can target that. Also, your Lady Tremaines can target it if they played another character. It's just a very specific, solid removal. And that's all I can really say about Dragonfire. It's just a super solid card. There's nothing more to it. Other than that, everything else is pretty regular here. I mean, it's running Chernobog, Rafiki. It's really a choice whether you want to run Minnie Mouse, Olaf, Rafiki, or Chernobog followers, Rafiki. It's really a matter of preference. They both have their own strength and weaknesses, of course. And it's running 3 Cuscos. Everything else here is what you would usually see. It doesn't have any Lady Tremaines. It's running 3 Madame Medusas. But it's okay that it doesn't have Lady Tremaine because it has Dragonfire already. And it also has 3 Maleficent Dragons. It cut down one of the teeth and ambitions. I think that's totally fine. Also, another thing that I want to mention with this deck is it doesn't have any crabs at all. It doesn't have any Merlin crabs, which is a little odd, but it worked out for him, right? I think you just play Maui's Fish Hook straight up on turn 3, just in case you need it for anything that would happen after that. But it's a pretty solid list with a couple of attacks. I think the biggest thing that we can point out is, like what I said, 2 Dragonfires, no Lady Tremaines, and it's okay because there's Dragonfire, and also there's no crabs. And other than that, that's about it. It's what we usually see on a Ruby Amethyst that we saw 100 million times already. I see it every day because I play it as well. Congratulations, Massimiliano Calabucci. Well done on the top 8. All right, next up here, we have Derek Bannibal Harka Tossel. Congratulations with your top 8 win. Let's look at this popsicle deck. Let's look at this Ruby Sapphire popsicle deck. I mean, honestly, just like every popsicle deck, it looks the same. It doesn't have the Hades. I've seen a lot of people has got that. I've seen a few people has been running that too. But one thing that I really want to mention with this deck, I mean, everything else looks the same, right? But there's one thing that I really want to mention with this deck, and that is Grammatala, Keeper of Ancient Stories. I think this card right here on the hands of the right player is pretty ultra megatonic. The thing is, filtering or cards like this it's basically an expensive Maleficent Sorcerer, right? But the thing is, filtering in the hands of a great player, or even just a good player who knows what they're doing, is pretty deadly. The thing is, they're able to find answers, and they usually would always know what the answer is with the current situation or what the current upcoming situation would be, right? And they can prepare with that. And that is why cards like Grammatala just helps you filter your deck. When you play this character, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may put one into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. I just want to mention as well that it's a 3/3 body, which is pretty solid. It can take out a lot of stuff from like 4 and below. But also there are cards that it can't remove. Obviously, it's only a 3/3 body. But the point is, in the hands of an ultra megatonic player, filtering is great. If you know what you're looking for, it's an ultra megatonic card. Other than that, everything else looks the same. Honestly, you got the items that you would usually see. You got Develop Your Brain, 1 jump ahead, be prepared, right? You have Queen of Hearts to deal with aggro early. If you don't need it, you can just ink it. You got some Judy Hops, Hiram Flowersham, Maui Gaston for more filtering. 2 Lady Tremaines, 2 Medusa, Tamatoa, and Maleficent Dragon, and then 2 McDuck Manor, which is really, really good. Good boy. Because the thing is, McDuck Manor, and the more I play locations, the more I see that if you are not playing an ultra megatonic deck that can control the board, especially early, it's basically an ink. It's basically an ink. It's a win more card. It's what it is. You have to win the board before you can play this. Otherwise, it's not gonna get an ultra megatonic value. Other than that, great job, Derek. Well played on the top 8. All right, going into the top 4, we have Devin Byer. Devin Byer is running Amethyst Ruby bounce control. I don't know why I paused there for a long time. We have an ultra megatonic version of Ruby Amethyst here. I really, really like this, and I'm gonna tell you why right now. This deck is running 4 Queen's Castle and 1 Jim Hawkins, right? But I also want to mention how strong its early game is. We have 10 1-drops here. We got Minnie Mouse, we got Olaf and Rafiki. And then we have Cusco as well at 2, alongside with the Madam Mim Snake. And obviously we have the Fox. But this is where it gets good, because it has 10 1-drops right here and 4 Cuscos. The Merlin Crab has so many targets to Ultra Megatonic control the board and trade against your opponent, or get value trades against your opponent, because this is really, really good with Minnie Mouse and Olaf, right? It's really good with Cusco too. But Minnie Mouse and Olaf would most likely take out the stuff that can only 2 damage them, and you get ultra megatonic value from that. And now once you win the board from turn 1 to turn 4, a turn 5, you can play this very non-greedy Jim Hawkins. It only has 1. And if you have that and you won the board and you got Jim Hawkins right away, I'm guessing that if you only have 1 of this is an ultra megatonic keep on your mulligan, right? Because you have a high chance of getting an ultra megatonic curve in the beginning to control the board. Now once you have controlled the board, you have Jim Hawkins getting played at turn 5 and putting out a Queen's Castle. You're already winning. Now you're winning more. And they can't answer that for another 2 turns. Everything that's happening on your board, they can handle it one by one, but you just get so ahead with all of these things happening in your board, because Be Prepared doesn't happen till turn 7. And this gets played on turn 5. And also, especially if you're going first. And also, I want to mention that this deck is only running 3 Be Prepareds. 3 Be Prepareds. And I'm going to tell you why right now. If you are running a very strong curve on turn 1 to turn 5 and up to turn 6, because it has 3 Tremaines and 3 Madame Medusa, it's really aiming for the early mid and early late game to win right away or get an advantage. You don't need 4 Be Prepareds. You're not going to try to reset the board if you work Ultra Megatonic hard just to win the board, right? It just doesn't make sense. And I think this is a great decision. And this puts Devin Byer on top 4 because of this Ultra Megatonic version. I really, really want to test this out. And also it has 4 Minnie Mouse. It's just a very aggressive control list. It's not an aggro deck. It's definitely still a control deck, but I just want to mention that it's a pretty fast, aggressive control deck. Other than that, congratulations, Devin Byer, for the top 4 finish. I really like what you did here with your deck. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, next stop, we have another Ultra Megatonic. Emerald Steel was just popping off on this tournament, and this one is by Brindlebore. Brindlebore, congratulations on getting to top 4. But if we look at this, everything else pretty much looks the same as the ones that we look at. But the thing that I like to mention is that it's running 16 songs. It's running And Then Along Came Suze as well. And I think I know why it's running And Then Along Came Suze. It has a very, very strong and solid turn 4. So you have Daisy Duck that you can put down. This is now flexible because you have And Then Along Came Suze. It can, and Friar Tuck, which is what we saw earlier on the top 8, right? You have extra discard on turn 4, but also you have ways to sing And Then Along Came Suze because you have so many 4s. You don't have to wait for your 5 to come down. Another thing that I want to mention is that this deck is not running Tinkerbell. No Tinkerbells in this deck. No, there's no giant fairy. No big Tink. And it stops at Beast's Tragic Hero. This got into top 4. I think this is a pretty solid deck. Of course, you have the package of the captain and Mr. Smee. You also have the aggressive package if you have to play aggro. And then you have Benja to deal with all the items that's been happening. It has a lot of great targets right now. And then you have the Ursula package. Other than that, everything else is pretty much what you would usually see. I think this deck is pretty solid. I prefer the one with Tinkerbell, but obviously you got to top 4 with this. So props to you, Brindlebore. There's nothing much really that we can discuss other than that it has. And then along came Zeus, and it has Daisy Duck and Friar Tuck, which is usually what you wouldn't see. Friar Tuck is becoming. It looks like it's becoming more and more used. But Daisy Duck, I cut this card from this list, but I can see why he added Daisy Duck in here. If there's a goal, there's a plan, and it works out for you, it's good. And that's all that matters sometimes. If you know what you're doing with what you have. All right. Other than that, congratulations again for the top 4, Brindlebore. Let's move on to the next one. All right, moving on to the top 2, we have Julian Hammer, Artabax. We have a Amethyst, Emerald, Bounce. This deck, really, we can't call it aggro anymore. We can all just agree that this is no longer an aggro deck. It started off as an aggro deck, but now it's leaning towards more the mid-range. It's heavier on the mid-range side than it is on the aggro side. Now let's look at the deck really quick. It's running a lot of 1-drops here. We have Chernabog's followers, Curse Merfolk, and Rafiki, and then we have the usual packages that you would see: Flynn, Madam Mim, Ursula. It's also running 3 Cloud, Kid Cloud Kicker. I always call it Kid Cloud Kicker for some reason. Other than that, everything else is Madam Mim and the Merlins and the Ursula. I called this on the last the pack. I called this a attack, but I don't think it's attack anymore. I think the deck just evolved towards the it's heavier on the mid range aspect than it is on the aggro aspect. It really became a tempo deck. It's a tempo deck with a couple of cards that can pressure the board, which is Curse Merfolk and Flynn Rider. It can pressure the lore, right? Other than that, we have the Queen's Castle, Friends on the Other Side, Mother Knows Best. It's literally what you would see. But Isma, if you guys are wondering why Isma and not the usual genie that you would see, is because people cut their genie because number 1, it's an inkable. Number 2, it dies to Tremaine. Number 3, Isma is just really flexible. You can get draws from Isma. You can also even get draw and lore with Isma if you target the goat. But it does basically what Genie does, but better and more flexible. Yeah, there is a downside because if you do it to your opponent, then they would get 2 draws. But obviously, you're not going to do that unless it's your last resort. So props to you, Julian Hammer, for getting to top 2. Another solid performance by Bounds, green purple. I'm gonna stop calling them Amethyst Emerald because it's harder to remember. It's easier to remember the colors. All right, let's go to the next one. Another win by Brennan DeCandio. Congratulations, Brennan, for another first place. If you guys haven't seen my interview with Brennan from his first win a few weeks ago, make sure that you do. Link in the description below, or just click the series of the Loremeister's podcast. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just saying, look at that. If you want to pick Brennan's brain, which is what I did during the interview, check it out. Anyways, we have another first place Steel Song by Brennan DeCandio. He's just an ultra megatonic player, and this one is called Order 66. Order 66. And the reason why is because there's 66 cards in the deck. They messed up here because they only put 65. And I'm 100% sure that this is 4 aerials, not 3. No one in the right mind is going to run Steel Song with 3 aerials. this card is an Ultra Megatonic card in this deck, right? Unless you don't have it physically and you don't really want to buy the aerial IRL, then there's no reason for you to run 3 aerials. But this is 4 aerials. Other than that, it's basically what he ran before, plus more. Plus more, because there's six extra cards on here. You will see that a lot of people has put back the queen again. It's really good against Madame Medusa. Also, Cinderella is a super solid card in this meta. It has a lot of good matchups, especially with all the steals that are going on. And here we have 20 songs. We have 4 Bare Necessities, 3 Let the Storm Rage On, 3 Strike Up the Raging Fire, 3 Grab Your Swords, 3 and then Along Came Zeus, and 4 A Whole New World. I think 4 A Whole New World is a staple. You need definitely 4. But as you notice, he got one of each, so he could run Bare Necessities, which I think is a great card. It can target items. You can see the opponent's plan because you can see their whole hand. You can also target songs, target actions. There's just so many things that Bare Necessities can do. And in a deck like this, where a lot of things can sing it, it's an Ultra Megatonic win. Other than that, it's basically the same deck that we see from Brennan before. But I wanna add another spicy thing into discussing this deck. So after I saw him win this on today's post, I messaged him right away in Discord, and I'm like, Brennan, can you give me an insight of why you have 66 cards on your deck? And I didn't mean it as a meme. These players are Ultra Megatonic players, and I know there's a reasoning behind it usually. But he said that he just can't decide which one to cut because there's so many good cards in the deck. There's just so many good cards in the deck that he can't decide what to cut, and he can't be bothered trying to find out which one is which, right? And he had plans on the Sunday with his family for Easter, so he didn't really care much. He just wanted to play in the tournament, but him being just an Ultra Megatonic player and being built different than all of us, what started off as a meme with the Order 66 with 66 cards has turned out to actually worked out for him. He's an Ultra Megatonic player, and he took a deck like this to win an Ultra Megatonic Big Giant event, right? Other than that, one can argue that there's definitely some cards here that you can cut to make the deck a little more consistent with the draws. But in my opinion, it does affect it a little, right? The 6 card affected a little, but also it doesn't hurt the deck the way it would hurt other decks because of the amount of draws that you have. You have what do you call this? You have 3 Stitch, you have 3 Beast, you have 3 Rapunzels, right? You have Ariel, and at the same time you have 4 A Whole New Worlds. You also have 3 Let the Storm Rage On. There's just so many ways to draw and filter and look for answers in your deck. Does it really matter? Yes, it matters, but does it matter that much? No, it doesn't, because of like the amount of draws that you have compensate for the inconsistency of having 6 extra cards in your deck, lowering the percentage of drawing what you actually want to find. It doesn't affect it that much with this amount, a lot of draw. I just wanted to mention that. It's only by a little. Anyways, Brennan, congratulations on the first place win again. You are an Ultra Megatonic player. I can't wait to see what you would do with the circuit once it starts. All right, everyone. I just want to mention that this is a pretty cool tournament. It's one of the biggest ones online or just in general. And I think I know the reason why we see more diversity on these Pixel-born tournaments than the IRL tournaments, and it's because the availability of cards is everywhere, right? So you can run whatever you want, and you might notice that in real life that you would see what has worked on set 1, set 2 before. Now in set 3, it's still working for them, and it's what's being played the most. I think it's because people just upgrade their decks instead of spending a lot of money trying to get every card to keep keep on experimenting, right? But anyways, we're not here to discuss more of that. What we're here to discuss is the conclusion of this video is what we're gonna discuss. We can see that on the top 8 there's 3 Emerald discard. An Emerald discard is really, really good against control, in my opinion. Against decks that rely a lot on having an Ultra Megatonic plan, setting up and planning for the late game. What this card does to those decks is disrupt their plans, right? Make sure that, okay, you don't get to have a flexible plan from turn 1 to turn 5 or turn 6 even. You have to discard these late game cards. We're not gonna guarantee you to have an Ultra Megatonic start of your late game, because if you don't discard this now, you're not gonna have any cards to play on the early games, right? It makes decision making for the opponent to be Ultra Megatonic crucial, and it really limits their choices when it comes to making plays. And that being said, I also want to mention the top 1 and the top 2. Why it's top 1 and top 2? First of all, they're really, really good players, right? But I also want to mention that this card's Emerald Steel discard's weakness is also fast decks and a lot of draws. And we can see that obviously Green Purple has a lot of draws, especially Steel Song. But against Steel Song just shines against Emerald discard. Why? Because it has AoEs to be able to deal with the warded Prince John, to make sure that they don't keep drawing and they're the one who dries up before the opponent. Also, everything that they do basically gets reset by a whole new world, right? If you can't snipe a whole new world, if you can get rid of a whole new world with your Ursula or with your other discard cards, then everything that you worked hard for just gets reset. And now that they've been reset, Steel Song just Ultra Megatonic controls the board, because now that they refilled, they can play more, and now they draw more, and then they play more, right? And you just don't have the same amount of firepower that Steel Song has. And I think that's one of the reasons why Emerald discard didn't make it to top 2, is because those 2 other decks are the decks that can actually beat those. But I think one of the reasons why it made it to top 8 is because top 8 and top 4 it's just a super solid meta call, in my opinion. There's a lot of popsicle players there. There's a lot of what do you call this? A lot of Ruby Amethyst players there still, and it fits very well in the meta. When I play in a tournament and I'm a Ruby Amethyst player, one of the biggest thing that I'm scared of is playing against this card. I'm just scared against this card. It disrupts my plan, and if I don't draw my rabbits, if I don't draw my friends on the other side, I'm basically GG'd. I can't even get to 7 ink, right? Other than that, that's basically it for this week's The Pack Easter 2K Easter special tournament. I got that right. It's so hard. It's so many words. It's so hard for me to remember. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Or if you just enjoyed it, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to comment down below, and the bell button as well. Don't forget to comment down below. Just leave an emoji if you don't have any questions or any thoughts about the video. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next The Pack tournament or next Meister Meta Breakdown. And don't forget to check out our other videos too, especially the video of the podcast from the Lorcana's podcast, Brennan DeCandio episode. I believe that was episode 10. If I'm not mistaken, it was episode 10. So make sure to check that out. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.